Cyber Hi friends, Darth Momo here, and I finally got the opportunity to watch all 41 episodes of Gravity Falls for the very first time. What did I think? Let's talk about it. So, I've kind of been given the idea that this show has some sort of a cult following and that a lot of people hold this as a more special kind of Disney Channel show than what you're going to usually find. And overall, I would agree with that. It definitely had something that elevated it above what I would call the general typical riffraff from Disney Channel, Disney XD, etc. It definitely was a step above. There was a lot to love. And I'll say that. There was a lot that I enjoyed. I thought the characters were fun. I thought there was fun, balanced humor and tone. I really liked the overall story of the show, the kind of arc. And I think that it was kind of a fun world to kind of have a similar to an X-Files type setup of a show where you can kind of bounce back and forth between Monster of the Week and furthering the overall narrative. I definitely liked the main villain, Bill Cipher. He's fun. I wouldn't say he's like unique in the sense of like he's just an out there. He's not something you'd normally see, super special. But he definitely wasn't just a typical Disney villain. There was some nuance to him. There was some subtlety that was very fun and enjoyable. And of course, the performances were great all around. A lot of solid character moments and growth. Overall, like I said, it was a fun show. I had fun watching it. But I do have some gripes. I'm sorry if some of you guys disagree with me. I don't know if I'm allowed to criticize this show, but I'm going to. So I felt like this show could have been a little tighter, could have had some fat trimmed. It felt like there was some filler-esque episodes. Now, okay, first off, I know this is a Disney Channel show for kids. This wasn't written for 30-year-olds, okay? That being said, I didn't necessarily have an issue with Season 1. Season 1 needed to be able to establish the characters, establish the world, establish the lore. I didn't have an issue with that. What I had an issue with was Season 1 ends on a cliffhanger pretty much leading into serving the overall narrative. And then Season 2, the premiere picks up with that and somewhat resolves it in that first episode. So I thought, okay, this is going to be we're going to get little hints throughout the rest of the season, and then we'll build back up with the last few episodes. But then the next 2 or 3 episodes kind of continued to carry on. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. We've kind of gotten to the point where we know something's going on. We're building into the overall narrative, and we're going to keep building at that until the finale. And then we kind of slump back for a few episodes with some filler-esque episodes. And then about midway through Season 2, we pick it back up. We get a couple really strong episodes focused on the overall narrative of the show. And then with the end in sight, I would think, okay, now we're in we're on the end roller coaster ride. We're just going to straight shot it to the finale. But then the show takes about 2 episodes to kind of dilly-dally before we get back into the last 5 episodes that kind of serve as the finale. And that just didn't work for me. I would have preferred a little tighter narrative around the second season. I would prefer trimming that down. We didn't need an episode about golf balls with Pacifica. We didn't need Blendon coming back, especially because he pops in the finale and that literally goes nowhere. We did not need to bring back Blendon at all. That's the time-traveling dude. We did not need an episode about Mabel messing with Robbie's love life. Like some of those episodes in Season 2, we didn't need that. We could have trimmed the fat on some of that. So I would have preferred that. I also wanted to talk about the big plot twist that gets revealed about halfway through Season 2 or so. Pretty much the big plot twist of the series. There's little teases about what's really going on with Grunkle Stan. What's he up to? He's got the secret bunker. He knows about the journals. And then it's revealed when he finally gets access to the portal through the journals, this portal to another dimension or Bill Cipher's dimension or whatever. His twin brother comes out, and it's revealed Stan has a twin brother all along, and he actually assumed his identity after his brother got sucked into the portal, etc. It's a long story. Fans of the series, you know what's going on with that. What did I think of that plot twist? I thought it was fine. I didn't have any issues with it. I thought it was kind of cool. It didn't feel cliche like it may have in other instances across, pop culture media. As for the twist itself and if I thought it was shocking, whatnot, I'll be honest, my siblings were fans of this show when we were growing up. So I had seen like the first couple of episodes or bits and pieces of them. And I also saw the tail end of the finale. So I knew that there was a twin brother. But I think I probably would have been, I don't know if I would have been surprised or anything when it happened if I was completely blind, but I don't know if I would have necessarily had an issue with it or thought it was forced or anything. And I don't know if I would have been able to predict that ahead of time, that he was going for it for some family or something. I mean, I guess you could say it was maybe the hints were there, but I don't know if I would have predicted that exactly. So overall, I didn't have an issue with the twist. I thought it was fine. I thought it added an interesting development into the circumstances of the story. But those are my thoughts on that. But now, let's talk about the finale. I have a few praises here, and I have a few gripes, because I'm guessing this is probably what the show goes down best for as being remembered by. Overall, it was a pretty good finale. I enjoyed it. But there was a couple issues I had. Pretty big issues, considering overall how much the show had more or less impressed me up to this point. Right before the kind of last 4 or 5 episodes go down with the finale and Bill Cipher comes back, it pretty much, the way Bill Cipher comes back is because there's a tear or a rift in between the dimensions, and it's contained. It's contained by Stan's brother, but somehow the backpacks get swapped up, and Bill comes back with that. So that was kind of predictable. But before that, let's talk about how we get to that point. So Mabel's kind of having a rough day with high school and learning that her friends aren't going to be around for her birthday party the last day before she leaves Gravity Falls. She doesn't look like high school is going to be fun at all, and she's not excited about that. But then Dipper, meanwhile, he's on a mission with Grunkle Ford, and he's recruited to be his apprentice. And it was established earlier that they had walkie-talkies, but then they got caught up with aliens and UFOs. They just had this pretty intense dogfight, and then we cut back to Dipper. He just happens to be holding down his walkie-talkie. Hadn't seen it for the last 15 minutes. He just had this intense dogfight. Now all of a sudden he pulls his walkie out, and he's got it in his hand holding down the button, just for the plot convenience of Mabel overhearing on the other end that Dipper's going to leave her and join Ford. And I was like, really? Are you kidding me? Also that it could lead to what the plot needed, them to have a fight so Mabel could get separated so she could hand the rift containment thing to Bill so he could break it and open the dimension. It was just predictable but forced. It just did not make sense. It was just so, like, obviously plot convenient. And the thing is, like, I'm sitting there watching this and I was like, there's a much easier way this could have been done. They could have just simply had the conversation about, maybe Dipper thought Mabel was still out doing stuff for the birthday party. And when they get back to the Mystery Shack, they have the conversation about joining Ford as his apprentice, and Mabel just overhears that. That would have made so much more sense and not felt so forced and plot convenient. But on the other hand, to give it a praise, I was genuinely interested how they were going to reintroduce Bill. He's been in the show twice before by this point, and both times he was a fun villain, but he was defeated by and outsmarted by Mabel and Dipper. So I was like, okay, how are they going to reintroduce him and make him seem like an obvious, intentional, serious threat for the main characters? Because obviously it's a Disney show. He's going to get defeated in the end. But how do they make us as an audience take him seriously? And I thought they did a pretty good job. He shows up, he takes over Gravity Falls, he starts killing people. He doesn't kill them, but he like freezes them in stone. He's messing with their bodies and like destroying them. And I was like, okay, they made it clear. Bill's a serious villain and he's a threat. So a praise to the show on handling that. The other major gripe I have is when they're trying to do the whole prophecy thing. Bill's outside fighting like a Gravity Shack, or the Gravity Falls Mystery Shack turned into like a robot or something, and he's fighting it. And in the meantime, several side characters as well as the main characters are trying to fulfill the prophecy with stepping on these symbols, and their power will like defeat Bill. And at this moment, Stan's like, nah, this is all baloney. It doesn't make sense. What not? And of course, we have to have this last minute fight between the protagonists so that way Bill can temporarily triumph. And I was like, are you kidding me? Not only is this so cliche and so forced and so just beneath what this show had so far shown that it was capable of, but also it's like it didn't make sense. Stan literally admits to Dipper about halfway through the show, yeah, I know there's some serious stuff up with this town. He sees the whole thing going on with when Ford gets taken into the other dimension. Like, Stan's not an idiot. He knows there's something up with all this. He's said that numerous times throughout the show. So for him to just go, nah, this prophecy stuff, it's all just boo-hooey, you know, whatever. Like, are you kidding me? That just felt so out of character. Another time, or another instance where I could think of a better way to do it, Stan was cowardly the whole episode, you know, nervous about fighting Bill. He didn't think it was a winning fight. And that was a lot more relatable motivation that actually made sense for his character. So an easier way could have just been Bill beats the Mystery Shack and Stan's trying to, you know, get out. He's trying to look for a way out. He's like, I could see Bill's coming back, you know, and he's looking for an exit hatch while everybody else was trying to get the whole prophecy thing set up. And then Bill just interrupts him before they can finish. Like, the whole fight and rift between the brothers wasn't really on display for the last several episodes. So for that to all of a sudden just come in and Stan to be petty about, yeah, I see Bill's out there and he's going to kill us. And I know that this, you know, mystery stuff actually works in this city. But then I'm just going to ignore all that so I can get mad because he didn't say thank you. Like, it just felt forced and out of character just to pad the runtime. So that was a little disappointing. And then Stan made the sacrifice to give up his memory, which is more or less character death on paper, to defeat Bill. That was a powerful sacrifice. That's undercut within 5 minutes because he gets his memory back. I don't even think it was 5 minutes. But right within a couple minutes of him losing his memory on screen, they hint that he can get his memory back. Which, that kind of leads to the issue of, okay, well, Bill was inside Stan's mind and that's how they beat him, so can Bill come back? Is Bill still alive? You know, McGucket used the same device. He lost his memory for 30 years, but now Stan gets it back? Like, I don't know. It just, and then, you know, they know that that was an error, so then they also imply that McGucket's getting his memory back. And that I thought, I mean, I get it. It's a Disney Channel show for kids. I get you can't go too hardcore. But they could have done it in a more satisfying way without undercutting the sacrifice. They could have, you know, just dealt with the ramifications of that was his sacrifice. That's a real world thing. Sometimes we have to sacrifice for the greater good. And then at the very end when they're doing the whole epilogue, they could have had some little tease in there that, like, he remembers something. Whether he just said the name, hey, Quiet Waddles, or something like that, you know. So, overall, I'm going to give the show about a 7.5 out of 10. I wanted to give it higher. I really did. But as I thought more about the finale and the final couple episodes, it just... The show overall had established that it was better than some of the other Disney Channel shows. It was able to rise above some of the more cliche or weaker writing that a lot of the Disney Channel cartoons have. So for it to just sink down to this level at a finale that was overall pretty well built up and hyped up within the show just disappointed me and underwhelmed me. Like I said, overall, it was a fun show. I had fun watching it. The finale, overall, like, I mean, yeah, it tied up loose ends and it wrapped the show up. But the finale didn't have the punch that I was maybe hoping it would. Partially probably because I binged this show over the course of 2 to 3 months. I didn't watch this show over the course of 4 years, which I'm not going to hold that against the show. I'm going to hold that against Disney. But the fact that a 2-season show of 41 episodes took 4 years to come out is ridiculous, and that's absurd. But that's just a wider issue I have with how Disney Channel and Disney XD air their children's programming, especially over the last 20 years. The airing schedules of that. But, like I said, overall, I'm going to give it a 7.5. It was solid. It was definitely a step above a lot of other Disney Channel shows, but it just didn't have the punches in the finale that I was hoping it would have. But that being said, thank you guys for joining in. Let me know what you think of my review, what you think of the show. Put it down in the comments if you agree, disagree, and let me know if you like videos like these, because I've got a couple other shows that I'm thinking of maybe doing it for, but I'll see how you guys take this one. Otherwise, thanks for joining in, and remember, bye, crypto suckers! Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them a delight.